Right, now on Campbell's Comments International, catching up with Casie Coleman in a much, much warmer Florida. Firstly, hello, Casie. How are you?
Good. Yourself?
Very well, thank you. And we want to touch on the North American Cup and a few other things, I suppose, going forward. But you base yourself now in Florida. Do you enjoy I suppose, the different role you play now as a trainer and preparer of these horses?
Yeah, I'm down here in Wellington, Florida. I just got home last night. I was down in Toronto for about 10 days or so while my horses were getting ready for the North American Cup and Anthony Beaton's stable, and just checking everything out and having a good time, enjoying it. But yeah, basically I pick them out as yearlings at the sales, bring them here to Florida, break them, train them down, get them ready to go. Once they're all ready to go and just about ready to qualify, this is the second year I've done this. I ship them north to Anthony Beaton at Classy Lane Stables in Toronto, and he's been racing them for me, and so far so good. Everything's going good. The horses are racing well. Me and Anthony are getting along great, and the owners are enjoying it, and it's all working out good so far.
We'll touch on Anthony and your association with him and drivers and the horses, but it's been missing me. We firstly should say congratulations with the win of Nijinsky. Brilliant win. Huge speed, as you guys say, down the line. Like his closing 200 meters was just outstanding.
Yeah, thank you very much. He's quite an animal. He was, a lot of people are saying where'd it come from, saying that he only had 1 win out of 10 last year, but anybody that watched him race, he wasn't as handy last year, for sure. He wasn't as handy. He would get himself spotted in a bad place a lot of times because we really couldn't use any gate speed with him. This year he's handy. We can get him in a good spot, and if you look at his lines last year, this horse come home 25-4, 26 nearly every start he raced as a 2-year-old, which is pretty outstanding. And now this year he's got manners and he's a lot more handy, and the driver Louis Watt's been driving him. He can do whatever he likes with the horse, and yeah, his best kick is always that last eighth of a mile. He's normally almost every week he's just flying that last eighth of the mile.
Louis, I don't know a lot about Louis, but he looked awfully confident when you watch the replay out of the gate. He never asked at all. He just said, rightio, just let the speed work itself out, and then we'll see where we posied up, and posied up perfectly on the back of the stablemate, as it turned out in the end. But he just seemed to be very, very cool, at the start of $1 million race, where for a lot of us Australians, it always seems to be positioning where you need to be in American racing, whereas he was quite happy just to let everything unfold in front of him early on.
Yeah, he looked like I know he wanted to be in a spot where he was going to be second or third over. He ended up being second over, which is the golden spot. I was hoping it wasn't my horse that we were second over behind with Legendary. I really thought Sylvain Filion was going to pull out of the 3-hole. Watching the race unfold early, I loved it. I really thought Legendary was going to be second over and Nijinsky was going to be third over. I liked those positions for both horses. I did not see Sylvain Filion not pulling, but he didn't, and that made a very long journey. And for Legendary Hanover, I can't believe he still got us a 5th out of it, because he had a tough start and raced great, and he was able to pull Nijinsky all the way to halfway down the lane there to get him good positioning and to get up for the win. So it worked out great.
We'll touch on Legendary in a minute. They went 48-3. Go to Standardbred Canada is the best place to go to watch it. Mohawk Raceway, and you can watch the replays. I might even put a tag down the bottom so people can watch it. Right, I was just saying then that if anyone wants to watch the North American Cup, please go and watch it at the Standardbred Canada site. It's a great race, and it must have been a great race for you to be watching live at the same time, Case, if you like. I'd imagine a bit of pressure if you like, but plenty of moves, plenty of action in that race.
Yeah, it was a big action race. It was one of those fields where all 10 of them, everybody had a shot in it. There was no huge long shots in that field, and really, really good crop of 3-year-old Payson Colts this year. So very exciting race for sure, and more exciting when you winning it at the end. But it was a great race for sure, as it always is.
He's had 4 starts this time back in Nijinsky, and he seems to be getting better and better. Is he exceeding your expectations?
This year, yeah, he's 5 for 5 now, and he definitely, he trained down fantastic. I couldn't have been any happier the way he came back as a 3-year-old. His manners were just so much more mature. All winter, I told his owners, Anthony Beat and my staff, and I just say, we know how good Legendary Hanover is, and Nijinsky was never in that league of Legendary Hanover, but all winter I just kept saying, if this horse can get within, if he can learn how to leave the gate and get himself in position this year, they're really going to hear from him. He has an unbelievable quick turn of speed when he wants to change his gears. He can change from 0 to 100 right now.
He doesn't seem tall. he might be racing taller horses, but from where we sit, he doesn't seem an overly tall horse.
No, I've had great luck with Better's Delights. You guys over there know Better's Delights very well. And most of them, the average to smaller size. And I'd say he's average size. He's got a big ass end on him, big shoulder, very long gait. If you ever see the gait on him, he wears, I'm not sure exactly where we got his hobbles at right now, but he has a very long gait, great reach on him. And no, he's not an overly tall horse, but he's a typical Better's Delight. He's the perfect size for a fast, good, talented Better's Delight colt.
Where does he go? What are your main aims now? Is the Jug the main aim at the end of the year for him, or?
That's not the end of the year. That's in the third. It's the third Thursday, September. Third Thursday in September is when the Little Brown Jug is. We're definitely planning to go to that if all seems good. Right now, he's on a 3-week break right now, and his next start will be the Meadowlands Pace in New Jersey. Both him and Legendary are gearing up for that next, and he's fully staked. Besides his Ontario Sire Stakes, which is a very good program, he's got the Little Brown Jug, the Meadowlands Pace, obviously the Breeders' Crown. He's in Indiana at the end of the season. He's got lots of dances on his plate.
How much mapping do you do for a horse like him to get into that? Like, do you?
With a horse like him, I sort of do what I do double stake a little bit. Like there's some stakes where overlapped where he has two where we got to pick one or the other. You kind of got to stake a colt up to be ready for plan A and plan B. You're hoping they're good enough for the plan A and go to all the grand circuit and the biggest purses, but sometimes they end up not being quite good enough, and you got to stake. I don't know if your staking program's the same as ours, but we start staking them as 2-year-olds for these 3-year-old races.
Yeah.
So you don't always know where they're going to end up being. So you kind of got to stake them for the A and the B and even the C divisions. But right now we're sticking towards the A division with Nijinsky.
Yeah, he's a very, very exciting horse, and as you said, by Better's Delight, he's just a freak of a stallion. I'm going to do I'm hopefully going to do another one of these with you at one stage about, I suppose, the good horses that you've had over the journey and the rest. But if you ever he's just an amazing horse. I'm not going to say there's been a stallion like Better's Delight because there hasn't been a stallion like him, but he's just a freak, isn't he?
Yeah, he's like I say this year he's just been it's amazing, like the trips this horse can go, and he just never seems to get tired. And just the fact that his manners, like Louis can leave the gate hard and then take a hold of him and with 2 fingers and go a next quarter in 30 seconds if he needs to. Like you can start and stop him, you can leave with him, you can come from off. He's just very, very versatile. So the fact that you can do whatever you want on the way his trip is very good.
Legend Hanover. He was probably the better, higher profile of the 2 horses before this year. But he's been terrific. He's had 2 wins this season, and as you said, he was awesome the other day. Pulled up okay because it was a tough run.
Yeah, I actually can't believe how good he came out of the race. He had a very tough run, and he's a big, big horse. So to be parked the whole mile in those kind of fractions, you're always worried about them being a little bit tired or sore after the race, no doubt. I was at the barn Sunday morning, and he was turned out on the field. He was running around with his tail up. He ate all his feed. He looks great. Like we're lucky that both of them get to have an easy little run here right now with 3 weeks until their next start. But he came out of the race fantastic. So looking forward to going to the Meadowlands Pace next with him.
And the weather, to me, looking at it, like I'm very jealous over here. It's incredibly cold, but it looks awesome. But it looks awesome over there for the horses too. It looks like it's the right sort of temperature. Good days. Sun's out, but not overly hot by the looks.
Yeah, like where I'm talking to you right now, I'm actually back home in Florida, but it's very hot here. I believe it was 91 Fahrenheit today. But in Toronto right now, it's been quite hot too. Like saying that North American Cup night, it did cool down by the races. By the time they raced, I think it was 10:40 was post time. It had cooled down quite a bit that night. So that was even a bigger mile in 48-1, seeing that it was cool that night. It's been quite warm in the afternoons though. It's been warming up a lot in Toronto, and it's obviously it's our summer right now. I believe you guys are in your winter over there right now, so yeah, it's definitely normally pretty warm.
It was a pretty good night for you as well with Line Drive Hanover. When James McDonald started the night off for you a lot better. He went 47-2, just a lovely horse for you, and been a nice horse over the journey too.
Yeah, Line Drive's another one I bought as a yearling. We had issues with him at 2 and at 3. He broke down at me as a 2-year-old. He broke down. I brought him back as a 3-year-old. He broke down on me again as a 3-year-old. I don't normally wait on horses that long, but that's how much talent this horse showed me. I left him a stallion until he broke down as a 3-year-old also, and then I gelded him before he turned 4. Just there was nobody's going to breed to a horse that broke down at 2 and 3, and now going to be 4 before he really raced. But he is an unbelievable horse. He's got a heart. heart as big as his chest, that horse, and very, very fast horse. He's definitely got his soundness issues. He's not the soundest horse, as anybody can see off his lines, but every single week that horse comes to play. And even when he gets some tough trips and gets roughed up pretty bad, he just bounces back and forgets all about it. Like he's an amazing animal.
It was a tight finish too. When you see one of the photos, you'd swear there's only two. You can see James and Dexter, but there's actually, I forget who it was underneath, but there was a third driver underneath. Like, just an amazingly tight finish. But he just decided, I'm putting my head out and I'm going to be first across the line.
Yeah, Dougie McNair was the other horse, and there were three of them right across the wire. And I say those were some really, really good horses. Obviously, I own Betting Line, and the fact that Line drives a betting line and a Buck a Bet Hanover, who Andrew Harris, a good friend of mine, trains. That's also a betting line, so I was cheering for them. But Buck a Bet ended up third, and Line Drive won, and that was a huge mile that night also. But yeah, every single time you put Line Drive on the track, you know he's going to give you all he's got. He's a lot of fun.
Do you train him down as well, or do you leave him up with Anthony?
I had him down here at 2 and at 3. At 4, I was training him in Toronto, and that's when I gave him to Anthony. When I was leaving, when I came back to Florida when he was a 4-year-old, I was just in the middle of training him back, and that's when I gave him to Anthony, and then Anthony's had him the majority of the time since.
Yeah, and he goes from there. Your association with Anthony, Anthony Beaton, of course, winning trainer, and from what I can gather, a lot of the stuff, his wife, whose name's just escaped me, but they train in partnership. He's always very proud to mention his wife's name.
Lisa, she does help out. She has her own job. I can't even describe what it is exactly. That she has a computer job that she works from home. She's very high up in what she does, but I really don't know exactly what it is. But she does help out in the barn when she can. She loves the horses. She owns parts of some of the horses with Anthony. She can do everything in the barn. She knows how to do everything, and she'll go on weekends and help him with whatever he needs help with, or help qualify, help paddock the race nights. And I've known them for a long time. We were friends for quite a few years before Anthony came to work for me, and I don't even know how many years it was he worked for me. I think it was anywhere between 10 to 12 years that he worked for me, and the only reason he stopped working for me is when I started doing this Florida thing. He came the first few years. Him and Lisa both came to Florida, worked for me here, and it was just like they got a house at home in Toronto, her job's at home in Toronto and everything else, and he just decided not to do the shipping to Florida no more. He opened up his own stable. I'm not sure exactly how many years his stable's been open. I'm going to estimate 5-6 years, and it's been going great for him. So far it's going very well, and as you guys can see, I obviously trust him a lot, and I've never really sent my horses out to other people besides Anthony. Andrew Harris, I've sent some horses who also were very good friends, and he worked for me for quite a long time. And then I've sent a few to Linda Toscano, who we've just been friends, and she does a fantastic job. So those are the people I've sent horses to when I needed to.
He seems a very humble man. I'll just say on him for a sec. A couple of the interviews I was watching, like, he had 2 horses in the North American Cup, and he was, the way he explained it, you could probably see internally he was buzzing about it, but externally he was like, well, I get my name on the program twice. Like, he was never sort of saying hopefully winning it or anything along those lines, or but he was just happy that he had the 2 horses in the program, basically.
Yeah, he's a very humble guy. He's always been like that. He's quiet, laid back, and he's not a guy that goes looking for the limelight and all that kind of stuff. He just likes to, he's a very hard worker. He's at the barn 24/7 pretty much. His staff all respects him a lot because he treats them all respect, and he works just as hard, if not harder, than any of them. But he's always been like that, just very laid back. And as I'm sure you've seen in his interviews, I was laughing with one of his guys that works for him there Saturday night, so we got to work on Anthony's interview skills a little bit here, but that's just him. He's just very man of few words, and very humble, and doesn't get a big head or anything like that.
Yeah, no, they were genuine interviews. That's what I did like. Sometimes people can oversell themselves and things along those lines. He was just very genuine. You have been a champion trainer. You said there before about Betting Line, but American Ideal. There's so many stallions we could go off on, and I don't want to do that this interview. If we get the chance, I'd love to do another one about all of those. But you've taken a new role, if you like, or a new direction in this. Do you enjoy this new direction that you've taken, sitting back and letting other people sort of train the horses on the race day?
Yeah, it's a lot different for me, no doubt. Like, for instance, I've never, that was my 3rd win. I've had 2 North American Cups as a trainer. That was my 3rd North American Cup, this one not being the trainer. It was definitely different to be, I was in the grandstand the whole time. We had clubhouse tables. I was sitting with Anthony's wife, Lisa. My mom and dad were there, a bunch of friends and family. We had a bunch of people up there cheering him on. And not being down in the paddock watching them trackside and being up there, and I know I was banging on the window when Ninja was coming down the lane to get him home, and I definitely a whole different view for me, that's for sure. But no, I still enjoyed it, and Anthony's been really good with still letting me have my little bit of, like, I let him do what he does. I don't tell him what to do, but I give him my little bit of input on maybe we should do this or maybe we should do that. Obviously I trained them down. I still own a piece of them, and I still get to, I'm still sort of, well, not hands-on, I was going to say hands-on, but still get to be somewhat associated with what's going on with these horses' training schedules and everything like that. So it's awesome, like, to see him winning, and I want to see him go on and do well in his career. He did so much for me, building my barn up. He helped a lot. I wouldn't have done years what I did with horses training if it wasn't for his help over the years. So being able to, now I'm in a good situation myself where I don't have to work so much and can let him take over the reins, and it's going good. So yeah, I liked it.
Are you a better watcher? I think when you trained, would you have found yourself banging on windows when your horses were coming down the lane, or is that a new role for yourself as well? A different sort of emotion when you sit back, having something to eat and drink, and then all of a sudden your horses are winning, $1 million race?
Yeah, I'm normally, when I watch my races, I'm normally pretty quiet. I'm not one, like, I don't want to sound big-headed, but I've been there, done that with quite a few. So I know the first few, you get very, very excited, screaming and roaring and driving them, but it's different. Like, everybody, some people like to say that a win's a win, and no matter if it's a bottom claimer or a stakes horse, to me, it's definitely not the same. Like, yes, a win's a win, but winning the $1 million North American Cup with a horse that you bought as a baby and getting up to beat the best horses there is in the world, it's a whole different feeling. And yeah, I definitely was pretty excited that night, that's for sure.
And I imagine as an owner, you're sharing that with your friends, your family, as you said, fellow owners, people that you've probably got an emotional attachment.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, we had a lot of people there that night cheering them on and rooting them on. And after we won, there's such a big team behind all of our horses. Like, there's, I actually put on a huge barbecue at Anthony's barn on the Wednesday. There was over 100 people there. I had it catered, great big barbecue, lots to drink, lots to eat. We started at 1 p.m. and I know I heard the last people left around 11 p.m. I think I left around 9 or so. We had a great time, and I'm just one that likes to pay back, and like, everybody's helped us. There's blacksmiths, chiropractors, vets, pulse people, grooms, trainers, tack shop people, feed people. Like, there's a whole lot of people behind winning a race like this. It's not just the horse, just a trainer, just a driver. There's a huge team behind any horse, and especially this horse.
I follow you on social media. When you started the season off and you had your babies training down and the like, how do you go about, obviously, the likes of Legend Hanover and Nijinsky, probably easy enough to say, well, they're going there because they've done it as 2-year-olds. But how do you pick where this season's the 2024 2-year-olds are going? Like, do they show you enough to say, well, these guys can go the big time, these ones maybe one step down? Or do you send them all? Do you have a program and basically let the trainers then work them out? How does that work with you, Case?
No, I do all the staking myself. Like, I have them down here all winter, and our stakes payments are pretty much done by the time I send them north to Anthony. So I do all the staking myself. I don't like to train a lot of horses anymore. I had 16 horses here this winter, and if they're not good enough for those A races, I don't really keep them anymore. I'll put them on ongate.com and sell them when they're not good enough. I actually got a horse on there right now named Sinatra Hanover that's selling Monday at noon. That I just he's a nice colt, and he trained down very well. Better's the light colt. I really liked him, and he wasn't staked to races like this. He is in the Little Brown Jug and that, and I thought he would be a gold colt, but I decided he's just a grassroots, so I'm selling him, and that's usually what I do. I try to map it out the best you can. Like, you want to have them paid in and staked, but you also don't want to overstake. Like, if they end up not being too good, then they're expensive. They're very expensive, those stakes payments. So it's kind of, you got to play it out the best you can, that you don't overstake, but you stake enough, basically, with these horses.
You go to the yearlings. How much time behind the scenes picking these horses? Like, your record is outstanding at picking champion horses. And champion, like, is a term some people use a little bit loosely, but like a lot of the horses that we could mention that you've had over the journey are champion horses. Horses like American Ideal, who is not only a great racehorse, great sire, but now he's a great sire of sires as well. How much time when you're away from the races, if you like, in the North American Cup, how much time do you put into research and looking for the next couple?
Basically, that's the busiest part of my year, and I don't buy a lot of babies. Like some people used to think I buy a lot. Like, well, I'll put it for instance, this year where we had two in the Cup final, I bought 5 pacing colts that year. One of them right away was no good. I sold him quickly within the first few months. I sold him, and one of them got pneumonia on us and got extremely sick, and he was untrainable as a 2-year-old. So we really were down to 3 horses. So 2 of the 3 made the North American Cup, and it's just like I'm very proud of that we got our kids there. But I'm a confirmation person. Obviously, you want both. You want breeding and confirmation. But I own a piece of all my horses. I don't like paying big money for the babies, and I look at every single pacer, and I'm a confirmation person. I want big ass, big shoulder, sharp head, sharp eye. But there's a whole bunch of different things that they got to do to pass grades for what I want. And yes, I love the Bettor's Delights, especially the Colts. So it just got extra good for me that he happened to be a Bettor's Delight, and then I was able to afford him. But back in the day, a lot of people didn't like the Bettor's Delights, and I was able to buy quite a few of them for very cheap prices. Lately, people really like the Bettor's Delight, so they're not very cheap no more. They get pretty expensive, but Bettor's Delights helped me so much. It's unbelievable. I've had a lot of very, very good champions out of him, and it's sad to see he's going to not be breeding anymore here shortly. I believe he's 26 years old now, and they're going to stop breeding him here shortly, but he's been an unbelievable animal, and he's definitely helped me a lot.
Yeah, well, he's going to Woodlands. He's going to live out his days in now. I think he's travelled 18. He's had 18 flights to New Zealand. It's probably more air flights than I've had, I reckon, lately. So, but he's going to live out his days, which is, I think very unique. And you'll still be able to get, I would imagine, the frozen semen up there as well. But he's a freak of a stallion when you think about the fact that he's 25. And I said there earlier, he was 22 when he sired Nijinsky. It's just an amazing record, isn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing. Like a lot of people are always, oh, they're too old, they're too old. And on both the sire side and the mare side, I've had, like, I'm going to use Betting Line for example. He was at Bettor's Delight, and his mother, I think Betting Line was like something like 14th foal or something like that. So the mother was quite old, and better than Cheddar. His mother was very, very old, and he's also a Bettor's Delight. So I'm not a believer in that no more. I don't look at the age anymore with the mother and the sire.
Wow, that's actually really cool, that part. When you're training these horses down, is there something that you look for? Like, is it once they start working, like, is there a gait or a stride, or is there something that sort of gives you a bit of spring in your step about some of these horses?
Yeah, definitely. To me, number one is their attitudes, and I will say Bettor's Delights. People either love them or they hate them. You hear trainers like they absolutely love them, and the other people, I hate them. They got to fit whatever your training program is. And saying that if your training program isn't fitting a Bettor's Delight, you need to change the program for the horse. You can't change the horse. Some of them they do have attitudes. They can get sulky, mean, sour, and you gotta be really let them do whatever they want to do. Like it's just it's their way or no way with Bettor's Delight. So number one. Keep an eye on their attitudes and keep them happy all the time. Keep them liking their job. And then, once you get them gated up and get them pacing, I like to see horses that land. You don't want one that lands heavy on the ground. You want them landing softly. I try to give them as much hobble as they can handle. A lot of my trainers, I'm always letting the hobbles out. As soon as I can, I'm always letting them out. And I'll see my trainers looking at me and they're like, that one doesn't need no more hobble. It doesn't need no more hobble. And I'll have to do it when they got their back turned and not tell them I let them out, or else they get I don't know if they're scared or what, but I'm always like, don't worry about the equipment. Yep. Let me worry about that. But I'm one that keeps letting their hobbles out. So you got to teach them young to be able to get a long gait and stride out and reach. And I've always done that. So.
Good insight, and it's quite funny. You started rattling off stallions there, Cheddar and the likes. It's an embarrassment of riches, which we will talk about if we can get the time. Just on that, Legend Hanover's by Stay Hungry. He's I think they're 3-year-olds here. Actually, he's doing an okay job down here as well. You like the Stay Hungrys?
Yeah, he's actually the first one. Legendary Hanover is actually a Huntsville.
Huntsville, sorry.
Yes, he's Huntsville, and he is the first one I've ever had. I've never bought a Huntsville. Nothing against him, just it wasn't something I was looking for. And Legendary is actually a brother to Line Drive Hanover, and I know how good Line Drive Hanover was. So when I looked at him, I loved him, absolutely loved him. Never had a Huntsville. I'm not a fan of the New York sires. Like there's a lot of half-mile tracks. There's a lot of shipping. It's just not something I'm usually looking for. So I just wasn't looking for a Huntsville, but I did buy him, and I will say on him, I got very lucky lucky, and my owner Eric Good. I loved Legendary, but I actually had his price. I don't like paying a lot of money, and I'm gonna say it was probably around 200 to 220 range. I backed out. I was done. I said that's too much. I love the horse, but I was done bidding. Eric Good, the guy that's the majority owner on Legendary Hanover, he actually jumped in and he finished doing the bidding and got the slip. And after he got the slip, I still bought in a piece of them with him. But I got to thank him for having enough nuts to keep bidding. I didn't.
What did he end up at?
260. We ended up paying 260.
Yeah, cheap buy now.
It's right now. It looks good, yes. But at the time, I was shaking a little bit. I wasn't wanting to sign the slip at that price at that point in time.
Do you train fillies? And forgive me, like
Yeah, I've had quite a few. Some fillies offhand I'll give you that are some of the top ones. Western Silk, Idyllic, Chansey Lady, Moving Pictures. Those are some of the millionaires that I've had down the years of fillies.
Do you have a preference for colts or just good horses?
No, just good horses. And a lot of people do seem to think that I'm a colt person, but I'm like, I've had just as many good fillies. Just people don't seem to remember the fillies as much as the colts, I guess. But no, I will. I don't. First, I'd say I don't have a preference. Then I'd kind of be lying a bit because I have had, right now I got 6 at Stallion, and altogether I've had, I believe, 8 at Stallion. And obviously there's some pretty good money once they are good enough to stand stud. So there's always that chance to go to stud later. So yes, I do like having Stallions.
Do you actually ever get the chance to just sit back and have a look, like you just said then, 8 stallions that you've had through your barn and some champion stallions as well? Do you sit back and sort of have a smile at any point in time?
Yeah, I guess like you always gotta yes for sure, but you always got to keep your head down and keep moving forward and picking out the next champions too. Also, so but yeah, for sure, it's been surreal to think back at the horses that we bought at relatively low prices. Like I'll just say a few of them, for instance, like Better Than Cheddar was like 30,000. Sports Rider, he was like 50,000. Western Silk, one of the fillies, was 50. Idyllic, who made like $1.5 million, she was 13,000. I've got a lot of good horses. I didn't pick out McWicked. McWicked obviously was only, I believe he was about 40,000 as a baby. Julie and Andy Miller bought him as a baby. We bought him as a 2 turning 3-year-old. And then American Ideal, I actually didn't train him at 2 either. I didn't pick him out. Mac Nichol, his owner, picked him himself, and I got him as a late in his 2-year-old year. I was given American Ideal, and then we did what we did with him. So.
Yeah, and he went on to, and like I say, he's not only been a great horse and a great sire in his own right, but he's also now leaving stallions, and like that must be one of the cool things as well for you to see this horse progressing to another phase.
Yeah, he was an unbelievable stallion. It's so sad that we lost him. He was he definitely stamped his name in this sport. Everybody will know forever who American Ideal was. He was a champion on the racetrack and a champion in the stallion barn. But the first year he sold babies was the year I bought Idyllic for 13,000, and like I said, she did very, very well. So he helped me out a lot for sure. He was my first major stakes horse, and he was the first time I traveled to USA to go race a horse.
I was lucky enough, he stood over here at Lower Long Farms, about an hour and a half away from me, and I do a little bit of video work and that for them. He was unique in his personality. I've never seen a stallion, I don't know, so enjoy life. Even, I think he was 22, unfortunately, this year when he passed away, but you would swear he was a 2-year-old, the way he carried on and enjoyed it. He must have been a fun horse to have around the farm.
He was a really cool horse. Yeah, everybody loved him. He was a stud, and you had to watch him, but he was never mean, not a mean bone in his body. And he was a lot of fun to race, especially back then. I just had claimers. Like, I didn't have a stakes horse. Nobody knew who I was. So traveling around racing the Grand Circuit Stakes with him, nobody knew who Mark McDonald was at the time either, the driver that was driving him. And we're traveling around the States racing him in all the big stakes races. And yeah, he was an extremely cool horse.
Yeah, some of the things I saw him do, he was never real keen on lather up. Whenever lather up was coming up to the shed, he'd go to town. It was quite ironic watching him, and both horses they were on the Woodland Stud roster, and it was about the only horse he'd play up for. But yeah, he'd carry on like a pork chop whenever lather up was walking past him. So he was very funny horse. I will let you go, but 2-year-olds this year, Casie, they're all starting to hit the qualifiers, as you guys call them, the trials and baby races. Any that really take your eye?
I got a couple nice ones, I think. We have 7 in total that I bought this year. The only one I qualified so far, her name's Just Hanover. She's the first time I've had a Stay Hungry. I've never had a Stay Hungry. She's a filly. She went this morning with Anthony, and she come home in 26-1 and was very impressive. The mile was only in 2 minutes. The last quarter was very, very fast, and she's been very, very good. She was a tough filly to break, very, very tough to break. I got to give props to my staff, Deshaun Miner and her groom Julianne, and that broke this filly, because she was very, very tough to break. She could have been ruined just as easy as turned into a racehorse. But I'm very happy with her. I got a Huntsville filly that's going to be about 3 or 4 weeks away. Her name's Pleasantly Pink. I'm pretty high on her. I like her a lot. I got a couple McWicked colts. One's name's Devil's Wish and one's name's McWinner. They're going to be a few weeks away yet also, but I'm pretty high on them, so see what they can do. And one filly, she's been in the qualify twice, and we've had to scratch her twice. Her name's Nice Buns. She's a Sweet Lou filly. I'm extremely high on her. She's very, very fast, but she's had a few issues with some sesamoids we've been working on, and we haven't been able to get her qualified. She's been kind of sore on them, so we're trying to get that under control right now.
You said there before you like a good. I think you said arse actually was the terminology you used. Is that where Nice Buns? Is that where it comes from for the name?
Yeah, she was named Nice Buns when I bought her already, but yeah, she does have a great big butt end on her, and I do like that a lot. That's where all the power comes from. So I've always been one. Any of my horses you see me buy, they're gonna have a huge, strong ass and a big, strong shoulder, and they got to have the power to be able to go the miles they go these days.
Do you pick? I keep saying I'll let you go, but do you pick early? Like, do you chance your arm, or do you like to sort of pick a stallion that's already made its name?
I'll go, like I said, I am totally a confirmation off the horse person. So what I like to do when I look at every pacer, and the farms know me now. They pretty much know, just pull out everything when I come. I won't open my book. When I'm looking at a horse, I don't open the book. I look over the horse first. I open the book and I make my marks of what I think about the horse. I got my stallions that I like and my crosses I like 100%, but I don't like to know what it is before I look at it, because I find that either something you don't like about the family and you see the horse and you just want to not like it and put it back and go to the next one, or something that normally you would cross off and you don't like but you're wanting to like it now because you like this family so much. So I've just always done that with myself. I look at the horse first and then I open the book and see what it is. Obviously I'm partial to certain stallions, Better's Delight being a huge one. American Ideal, obviously we won't have many of him anymore, but he's helped me out a lot along the way. He's helped me a lot. Definitely have your sires you like and your sires you don't like, but I more or less go for the horse.
2 questions. Okay, this could go forever. Who knows? If you like one on confirmation, then you open the page and you don't like the sire and you don't like the dam, does it still stay on the radar?
Yeah, it all depends, and price is always a factor. There's been, like, if I absolutely love the horse and I'm not liking the pedigree at all, and the pedigree is weak, usually that means that horse is going to sell pretty cheap. So I always set my price. I'm not one that likes to spend a lot of money, so all depending on the horse and what that pedigree is, I'll watch them go through the ring, and if it goes through for a price that I like, then sometimes I'll snag them. Now, saying that, I don't like to buy a lot of horses. I buy a very small number of horses, so I got to pick and choose and best I can.
How many times do you look at them?
A lot. By the time I bought a horse, I'll estimate I've looked at them at least 10 times, probably more. But from the time I first see a horse to the time I buy it on a sale, I've probably seen it at least 10 times.
Yeah, that's good insight. And the other one is, do you separate your love of the stallions, like you're Better Than Cheddars, your Mick Wickards, those sort of horses that you've trained? You probably really love the horses. Can you separate that when you go to the sales and and not buy a horse simply because of who it's by?
Yeah, you definitely have to separate that, because it's, let's say, I'll put it this way, like, not using the stud so much, but using the mares, like, in saying that Line Drive and Legendary Hanover are brothers. Yep. It's not that often you see a mare that throws, like, there are some great superstar mares, her being one of them. That mare's their mother, but a lot of times, a lot of mares don't throw multiple champions. So you definitely got to not fall in love with saying, oh man, I just love this horse and I got to buy the next brother and the next sister. A lot of people lose a lot of money doing that, buying brothers and sisters for big money. And then sires, the same thing. Like, yes, I love having certain sires, but you gotta make sure that price comes into factor too, or you can go broke pretty quickly in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. Legend Hanover, on paper, like, got good times, got good record. He's potentially a stallion. Do you find yourself now trying to I suppose, program his races so he can be a stallion, or is it first and foremost for you as a racehorse, and then if he's good enough, he'll become a stallion?
Well, number one is, yes, I do think Legendary Hanover and Nijinsky are in the running to possibly be potential stallions at the end of the year, and that's big money, as we all know, and that's game changing. So that's what we're trying to do. It's good and bad. I don't think I've had two horses in the same year race against each other that are top horses, but they've not both been stallions before. So they both got to hit the same kind of races, but we got to try to hope that. And I'm never one that tells the drivers what to like. The driver drives the horse, and I'm never ever going to be one that says, "Okay, it's your turn" or something, or try to help this horse out a little bit for a win. Like, they're driving to win their own horse. They're different ownerships on both horses. So yeah, it's good and bad having two great horses like this racing against each other. But they're going to hit each other many times this summer, and I'm going to hope that they take their turns beating each other and beating everybody else in the race also to be able to go to stud at the end of the season. But that's definitely the game plan that I think and hope that both these two are good enough to go to stud at the end of the season once we win some more major stakes with them.
Do you enjoy that part, knowing you got these two colts, real good colts, but that's it potentially at the end of this season?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, like I said, and I love racing aged horses too. Like, it's like Wicked. We got lucky that Mr. Ed James, who's passed now on us also, most people would have stood him at stud already, and he wanted to race. He was a wealthy man. He wanted to race his horse, and we went on and made him over $5 million with McWicken, and that was a lot of fun. I think we raced him until he's 8-9 years old, until he actually went to stud, and he turned down a lot of money. Like, honestly, he was offered so much money, he would have made more money going to stud than winning all the races that he won with the horse. And he just wanted to race his horse, and he loved it. So that was a lot of fun. But saying that, yes, I like racing these horses, but you got to be, it's a business. Like, it's not just for fun. It's a business. So I got to make smart business decisions. And when you bring a 3-year-old turning 4 back, if they have a bad season, if they go and they don't, and 4-year-old can be tough on a lot of horses racing against those aged horses. And if they have a bad season and they're losing, well, then there goes your stud career. Now you're no longer a stud. So it's kind of tough.
Yeah, it's quite ironic too. You've got these two horses. Last year we had Confederate and Cannibal, both similar ownership, similar connections as well. It's quite ironic, isn't it?
Yeah, no doubt. It's a good problem to have.
It is indeed. Do you still love the racing? Like, do you watch it? Are you a race junkie? I know you do a lot of exercise. You get away to beaches and downtime. But are you a race junkie? Or are you got to watch wall-to-wall racing?
Yeah, no, I'm not a race junkie at all. Like, I'm going to say, so I'm pretty good friends with a guy named Eric Cherry, who he probably owns, I don't even know, 300, 400, maybe even 500 horses. And I go to his house here in in Boca to watch the races sometimes. And this guy's got multiple big screen TVs, watches every race, like, you name it, like afternoon, morning. Like, when we go over there, I'm almost like, can we put something else on the TV for a little bit? Because he's got a theater that there's 5 TVs. There's one major big one, and then there's, I'm going to say little ones, but they're probably about 50 inches each, and there's 2 on each side, a total of 5, all these different tracks going. And he'll watch everything. Myself, I just watch races I'm in, like, honestly, and big races, like any race I'm in, I watch. And obviously, I'm not a trotting person, but watching the Hambletonian and big trot races like that, obviously I'm going to watch. But no, if I'm not racing, like tonight, I have one horse past the lights racing at Mohawk with Anthony tonight, and she's in a grassroots, so I'm going to watch her race, but that's probably going to be about the only race I watch tonight. I just, I only like watching my own horses now.
The Vincent Delaney Memorial, Derek Delaney, we got himself out there, and his wife were out there on the presentation and like. You're going to be heading across there August 10 and 11. It actually is. You looking forward to that?
Yeah, I've always wanted to go. He's invited me over there. I don't even know for how many years. He's always told me you should go. All the people that have went that I know, you can see they keep going back all the time, and they all say what a great time it is. I've never been over there, and I'm going to bring my mom with me. It's always been a dream of hers to go over there. So me and my mom are going to go over, and we're traveling with Tammy McNiven and Rob McNiven, who are Twin Bee Farms here in Ontario, and we're looking very forward to it. We're doing a bunch of texting today on a group text, just going on about a bunch of different things we got planned on that trip, but should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's going to be my first trip as well, so I'm looking forward to it. But it was good to see him there in the presentation as well, getting a bit of media time for himself.
Yeah, him and his wife were out there in the winner's circle and helping us celebrate the North American Cup win, and that was pretty cool.
No. Casie, thank you very much. Sorry for the dropout in the middle. I really do appreciate it. Congratulations. What you say was your third North American Cup, and thank you for giving me some pretty cool insight. Hopefully a few of the Aussies and Kiwis have enjoyed, I suppose, listening and understanding, because it's very different, the racing North America to North American racing basically to what we have down here. But I think the more you learn about it, it's really, I love it.
Yeah, I was over there a few years back, and I went to Australia and New Zealand, and I was visiting around those tracks, and I can't believe how different it is. And your horses are very good looking horses, very fast horses, and just we don't do the different mile like you guys do, all the different distances.
Yep.
Standing starts. There was grass tracks. One of the things I seen that you guys don't warm up horses. Like I warm up 2 trips before we race. It was very, very different, but you guys got some unbelievable animals over there too. So there's many different ways to do it, no doubt.
Thank you, Casie. Thank you very much. Hopefully we might do one with the stallions very shortly as well.
Okay, sounds good.